Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live coverage of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series. We're coming to you live tonight from, I think it's Phoenix tonight, isn't it, Brock?
Yeah, Phoenix, the 2008 version of Phoenix Raceway, Bernie.
Yeah, so we've basically got the guys out there, I think, warming up for our last chance qualifier, and the way they're doing it tonight, folks, a bit of a change in the format. They're running 2 last chance qualifiers of 6 drivers each, and then 2 out of each of these will go into the Heat 1, and as always it's a knockout competition, so as the night progresses the pressure will continue.
Yeah, that's for sure, Bernie. And I think we're actually in the race at the moment on live. The guys have gone racing, and right now there's a few gaps. Cohen Adard has jumped out a massive lead. He's got 3.2 seconds to Kyle Stevens behind. They've all sort of used their, I believe most of them have used their joker laps too, so they're all a bit spread out at the moment after George Fulton had a moment on lap 1-2 where he tried to go through the joker lap a bit too fast and just put it in the concrete, Bernie.
Yeah, sorry about that, folks. A bit disorganised tonight, but we'll make sure we do better next time. So let's have a look at our race standings. We've got 5 left in the race here. Cohen Adard leading Kyle Stevens. A big gap there, 3.6 seconds. And then we've got Sean O'Hara in 3rd, Richard Brookfield trying to chase him down, and George Fullerton bringing up the rear. So only 2 of these guys are going to go through, and at the moment it looks like it's going to be Cohen Attard and Kyle Stevens.
Yeah, well, these 2 guys both have a fairly good lead on under their hands. They're both driving cleanly. They haven't hit anything. Both cars look fairly undamaged for rallycross cars, and they're just currently biding their time, keeping their gaps. It's at the line, it was about 2 seconds back from Kyle Stevens to Sean O'Hara, and 4.2 back from Cohen Adard to Kyle Stevens. So the gaps are there, but Sean O'Hara is actually under a bit of pressure from Richard Brookfield at the moment as they come around to take the jump, Bernie.
Yeah, Richard's catching him in big time, isn't he? He's got 3 laps to go, so if he's going to have a crack at Kyle, he's going to have to clear Sean as quickly as he possibly can, as Richard just goes a little bit wide there and loses a couple of car lengths.
Yeah, that's that particular big long hairpin is quite a hard corner to nail on the dirt and get the power down. So these guys there, you could see there, both Sean and Richard were both drifting it out wide, trying to get that grip in, but in the end Richard was the guy that lost out with just drifting a bit too wide there.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed is, as we see now, I think Richard's using his joker, and that will jump him up here, up to 2nd position.
Yep, and we've just had someone spin as well. That was Kyle Stevens out of 2nd position, so he's essentially taken himself out there, unfortunately, but that has promoted, by the looks of it, Richard Brookfield up into that 2nd position, meaning that he'll make it through to the next heats of the night, Bernie.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see as we have a look at this replay what did happen to Kyle here, but it'll be interesting to see. Oh yeah, he's just hit the tyres. These tyres are a real problem, aren't they?
Yeah, the cars don't react very well to even just the slightest tap, whether it's net code or not, and they it can destroy your car and all the steering and everything in it. So you know, it's unfortunate when it happens, but you slide the car out a little bit too wide and it can be race over.
Yeah, definitely, and we're up to lap 7 here, but at the moment Cohen Adard, Richard Brookfield 1 and 2, Sean Thompson now 7.1 seconds down. Remember folks, it can change at a drop of a hat, as we just saw, because well, the race is over. That's how quickly it changes around here.
Yeah, so in the end, the final running order was in first. We had Cohen Adard, 2nd Richard Brookfield, so those 2 will head on to the next heats of the night. 3rd was Sean O'Hara, 4th Kyle Stevens, and coming in 5th was George Fullerton.
Yeah, so out of those, Cohen Attard and Richard Brookfield, they will go on, and unfortunately we'll be saying goodnight to Sean O'Hara, Kyle Stevens and George Fullerton.
Yep, but like you said before, that's the nature of Rallycross, is unfortunately after each race you've got to say goodbye to a few competitors and let the top 2 or 3 through to the next heat to get some of that better racing coming through.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And as the night goes on, folks, it will increase in pressure for the drivers. If we have a look at our race format at the moment, we'll go through that. And as you can see, stage one they've completed. That was the preliminary qualifying. They had one extra driver than the cut-off. So that's why they've run 2 LCQs, last chance qualifiers. But, of course, we can only cover one because they're running simultaneously. So we've just gone through that. Next, what will happen is the server's going to come up and we're going to run Heat 1. Then we're going to have a bit of a break, run Heat 2. And after that, Stage 4 should be set, and that's the final for the night.
Yeah, so I'd say we're into some good racing here tonight, Bernie. Phoenix is a quite a technical track and quite difficult to nail, especially the way the car wants to flick back on you when you try to take the jump. It really wants to basically wants to send you into the tyres and do a nice little barrel roll. So it'll be interesting to see how these guys handle 10 cars at a time, trying to fire into that same section, and how many might take that joker lap on the first lap. Considering I think they do have 2 jokers in these heat races and in the final as well, Bernie.
Yeah, well, I'm expecting basically strategy is going to be ramped up tonight because the guys and girls out there, they've had time to actually not only practice their skills at driving these cars, but also look at the strategy and how that's going to be employed. And it's going to be interesting to see how much different tonight's racing is compared to what we saw 2 weeks ago. And I'm definitely excited to see that.
Yeah, you and me both, Bernie. I think that it'll be really interesting to see how the strategy plays out. We saw, even though the strategy, that sort of the 2 joker laps was sprung on the drivers with those longer races in round 1, a lot of the drivers made that strategy work. But like you said, now they've had that time to practice and also understand the strategy. Will we see a bit even more cunning moves in these races tonight, or will it just be an all-out brawl to the end, and the joker laps will be just to pass a couple of guys to try and get into that top spot, make it to the final?
Yeah, well, that's it. It's going to be who knows what we can expect, but I'm very excited all the same. If we look at the preliminary results, this was from our initial qualifying. So if we have a look at the top 16 that have gone through to stage 3 automatically, that's Michael Healy, Brodie Whitmore, Cam Taylor, Scotty Harris, Ben Twydale, Stephen Clark, Kyle Stevens, Luca Giacomin, Lachlan Smith, Daniel Ackland, Tommy Harradine, Kurt Stenberg, Ryan Gorton, Brett Garitas, Dave Oliver and Michael Cracknell. They'll all go through to the semi-finals automatically. Now, the guys and girls we will be seeing out there competing in now 4 of these drivers have gone through, haven't they? So it's all a mystery to me.
Yeah, I'm a little confused. I'm just having a look back through the general chat to try and get this straight in my head at the moment, Bernie, because there has been, with that change making the two heats rather than the one, that's thrown a bit of a, I guess you could say, a bit of a spanner in the works for us here in the comm box.
Yeah, basically, because we don't really know what we're commentating on at the moment, because what's happened, folks, is it all changed format in the last minute, and just as we were going on air, so all our slides and that, they're all out of date. But I guess, Brock, you'll let us know when the server's up, and then we will go to an ad break.
Yeah, it's still waiting on that server at the moment. It looks like, from what I'm reading here, it should be the top 2 from each of the LCQ heats that will run will move through to the heats, to the next set of heats.
Yep, so then, okay, one of the viewers are just saying we've got the wrong results there. Yeah, I understand that. We're just trying to find it. So basically what's happened is they've qualified. So 1 to 16, they've gone through to stage 3, and that is heat 2 from what I understand. And then 17 to 26 went through to stage 2, and So stage 2 was our last chance qualifiers. We had 2 of them, and now we're waiting for the server to come up to start our heats. That's how I understand it, Brock.
Yeah, I think that's about right, Bernie. And I'm just hitting the refresh button to see if they're up yet. Not quite, but we'll just have to keep waiting on that. And it looks like, though, we do have a couple of big names with us tonight. We've got Jared Filsell and Emily Jones were actually first and second in the time trials and the qualifying tonight. So a few people. Scotty Harris, he was actually quite good in round 1. If you remember back then, Bernie, he put on quite a show for us. Michael Healy as well. Brody Whitmore. We've got a few. Bob King as well. Now he was someone that really impressed in round 1, coming right from the back and ended up fighting right till the end, Bernie.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it, and it'll be interesting to see if they're going to have to do the same hard way again, or whether they've actually made it a bit easier on themselves tonight.
Yeah, well, I guess that's the beauty and the beast of Rallycross is that you sometimes when you're in your heats or you're qualifying, you nick that tyre barrier, that's your lap over, or that's your race over, basically. So then you have to just keep fighting back and hope you can make it in.
Yeah, exactly right. I'm just trying to get this updated for us, folks, so we can actually see the latest results, but I'm not having much luck here. So basically, my goodness me. Yep. So basically, you can't see the overlay here, folks, but the drivers that have gone through from the last chance qualifier is Simon Joel Smith, Cohen Attard, Terry Maywood and Richard Brookfield. So semi-final heat 1, we're going to see lined up Jared Filsell, Brody Whitmore, Scotty Harris, Ryan Gorton, Cam Taylor, Gavin Sattler, Lachlan Smith, Kurt Stenberg, Simon Joel Smith and Terry Marwood. They're going to make up semi-final heat 1. Semi-final heat 2, we've got Emily Jones, Michael Healy, Bob King, Joshua Anderson, Dylan Shepherd, Wayne Burke, Sam Blacklock, Daniel Ackland, Cohen Attard and Richard Brookfield. So they will make up semi-final heat 2.
Well, those are 2 pretty packed races there, Bernie, with Filsell, Whitmore, Harris, Taylor, and Stenberg. That's 5 guys there that were all that are all well known. And Whitmore, Harris, Taylor, and Stenberg were all players in round 1. Emily Jones starting off pole in that semi-final heat 2. She has been an absolute alien in these Rallycross cars. Any track she's touched, she has blitzed it. So watch her tonight, because I reckon she's going to be in for a great shot at winning tonight, and she has been absolutely smashing it out on the official and the league racing circuit for Rallycross, Bernie.
Yeah, and we saw Emily lined up for the first round, but for some reason she didn't qualify. But tonight she's definitely on the money, that's for sure, and someone to keep an eye on. From what I understand, she'll also be possibly streaming on Twitch TV, and I think she goes under the gamer tag Emree. I think it is EMREEREE, I think it is. So, folks, you can always go and check that out also if she's streaming tonight.
Yep, and we've just had the server come up too, Bernie, for the first of the 2 heats tonight.
Okay,
for
folks.
The semi-finals.
Okay, folks. So we're going to go to a quick break while we work some magic behind the scenes, and then hopefully we'll catch the start of the race and they won't start without us. Okay, welcome back, folks. We are going to be going to the first semi-final very shortly, and your commentary team tonight is myself, Bernie Weemers, and Brock Cadet is with me tonight as well. So, Brock, we are getting ready for a 10-lap race here tonight, and 2 jokers they'll be able to pull out of their back pocket when they need it.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting one. Got some fast guys in this server, and I reckon it's going to be some tough competition as well. Like you said, we have those 2 jokers as well in a 10-lap race, so it's going to be interesting to see who pulls them out where, and you know, who takes them first lap, last lap. I'm honestly excited, like you were saying earlier, Bernie, to see how this strategy works out, because you usually don't think of Rallycross and strategy too much in the same sentence. It's more of an all-out brawl, but with that second joker lap, it adds in that extra layer of complexity that makes it all that bit more interesting.
It certainly does, and it looks like they'll be lining up now. So let's go through the grid so you can see where your favourite driver will be starting tonight. So it looks like we're going to have Ryan Gorton starting from pole. Terry Marwood will start second. In third on the front row, Kurt Stenberg. He'll be the second row. We have Brodie Whitmore, Cam Taylor, Gavin Sattler. Starting in the third row with Scotty Harris, Jared Filsell, Lachlan Smith, and then Simon Joel Smith will bring up the rear.
Yeah, and here we go. I think we've just come under starters' orders. Yet the revs are coming up, Bernie, and they're about to go. They're holding them. I can hear them all revving hard at the moment, and they've gone. Brilliant start from Whitmore. That almost looked like a jump start, but we'll see what happens. He's absolutely jumped Filsell at the start there, but Filsell's going to throw it right back down the inside and try getting back, and they've made a little bit of contact, but Filsell's and there's a massive crash in the behind, Bernie.
And already we can see 2 drivers taking the joker. One of them was Brodie Whitmore, and who was the other one? I think that might have been Scotty Harris is out. Jared Filsell, I think.
Yeah, I think we saw about 4 drivers there. I think it was Gorton, Whitmore, Filsell, and there was another driver bringing up the rear there that came through, and Whitmore's just hit the tyre barrier and spun around. This is an action-packed first lap, Bernie.
Yeah, we'll jump back and have a look at this replay. These they're going to have real trouble with these barriers, aren't they? Because they tend to, when people clip them, they tend to fly up and go on the track. But let's have a look at Brodie here. Yeah, he was just on the inside and he went too wide and straight into the tyre barrier. He cut the corner too much, let's say.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like you said, these tyre barriers, you nick them and they get thrown across the track, and they also throw your car across the track. So it's just a bit unfortunate. And as you were talking then, Filsell's actually taken his second joker lap as well. So he is out to create a gap and try and take the win in this one and assert some dominance before the final, Bernie.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? Because what we know is Filsell took his. I think, who was the other one? Was it Whitmore has taken one as well? Yeah,
and Gorton took it as well, I believe, with that pack of 3. So Whitmore's now obviously had that incident, which has put him down the order a little bit more, and Filsell's out to what have I got here? A 5.8 second lead at the moment.
Yeah, and what I'm trying to get at here, folks, is even though Filsell has a huge lead, the others still have their jokers up their sleeve, and that's going to pull that gap in potentially. The question is, when does Ryan Gorton use his joker lap? And I think he may have just used it now.
Yes, I think you're right there, Bernie, because he just made up about 3 seconds, even a little bit more, as the car just went flying across the background of Gorton's shot. Not exactly sure who that was, but it didn't look good to me, Bernie.
Yeah. So Lachlan Smith also used his joker. You can see one of the cars you're talking about. That's Kurt Stenberg pulling it up. So it looks like his night is run, unfortunately.
That's not good to hear. There's a little bit of carnage, unfortunately, in this race. Not a lot of hard racing. It's just been these tyre barriers, like I said, they're causing a bit of carnage. And it looks like Filsell's actually been passed by Gorton, and is fighting with Lachlan Smith. He's just hit a tyre barrier as well coming onto the main straight, so maybe having some troubles in that car, Bernie.
Yeah, potentially. I'm just having a look. He's got a lot of front end damage on the car. We'll jump in with him and just have a look how he's monstering it. But it could also be that the others have used their 2 jokers, and they're going to make up about 3 seconds per lap when they use those jokers.
Yeah, so he's still right behind Lachlan Smith, and coming third will still get him into the final. So he's not in a bad place at the moment, and there is a massive gap back to the next guy. It's nearly 10 seconds, so he's fairly well in the clear at the moment. But yeah, he looks like he has a little bit of damage there. Maybe just did what so many other drivers have done here at Phoenix and hit that tyre barrier and just thrown him across the track and let those 2 guys through with the help of their joker laps.
Yeah, it's these tyres. I don't know what it is, but they just seem to be trying to cut the corner too much or too aggressively. And of course, if you hit those tyres, not only does it turn you around, it can also throw the whole tyre bundle out onto the track. But at the moment, fuel cells all over the back of Lachlan Smith, and this is a battle for second as we see fuel cell going on the outside. What's he going to do? The undercut?
Oh, what a move!
That was awesome, wasn't it?
What a move. He set that up right from the turn 1 there, and he knew exactly what he was going to do, and he executed it beautifully. That was really well done by fuel cell.
Yeah, we'll see now if Smith can come back at him. But, of course, you know, they're racing hard, but all 3 of these drivers will go through to the final tonight. But I guess, you know, they're sizing each other up, aren't they? And not only that, but the drivers for the next heat, no doubt they're watching this and trying to work out strategy as well as the pace that this heat's going on so far.
Yeah, you're definitely right there, Bernie, and all these guys are going to be, like you said, sizing each other up, because this top 5, they'll be racing against each other again come the final, and there are a few people from the next heat that are actually connected in this server watching, so they're trying to get the best upper hand they can on their competitors. So coming into the final, they know exactly what they're up against, and there'll be watching moves like what Phil Cell just did on Smith that will help them understand how to defend and how to not let him pass to try and get that first place in the final tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, well, exactly right. And we're on to the last lap here now. The person on the bubble is the man on your screen. That's Terry Marwood, sitting in 5th position. He's got a gap of about 1 second. But Cam Taylor, the question mark is, did he have any jokers left up his sleeve to jump? And I don't think he did. So your top 5 will be Ryan Gorton, Jared Filsell, Lachlan Smith, Simon Joel Smith and Terry Marwood. He will make up our top 5 tonight.
So those guys will make it through to the final now. So we have the next heat coming up. And as I said earlier, it was a bit of a shame to see we had, I think, 4 drivers in the end bomb out of that race from across varying parts of the race. But that's Rallycross. I think we said it in round 1 a lot of times as well, that Rallycross can bite hard when you're battling or even when you're just trying to find some grips. So a shame to see, but that's the nature of the racing here tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is. So the full race results out of the first semi-final, folks. As we were saying, Ryan Gorton, he goes through. What's going on here? Oh my goodness, we should go back on holidays, I think. So the guys going through is Lachlan Smith, Ryan Gorton, Jared Filsell, Simon Joel Smith, Terry Marwood. We do say good night to Cam Taylor, Brody Whitmore, Kurt Stenberg, Gavin Sadler and Scotty Harris.
Yeah, so a shame to see them go, but hopefully they'll come back with a reinvigorated passion to try and take that win next round, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely, and it always is a challenge, and we'll see exactly how they all go. But it's going to be interesting to see what the second heat has up their sleeves, and of course they, from what I understand, will be swapping servers once again once Brock gives us a go-ahead, and then we'll get that heat underway. After that semi-final, we're going to go straight into the finals. So I think it's going to be a pretty quick night here tonight.
Yeah, well, these races, they absolutely just fly by like you wouldn't believe. So to have, that 10 laps went by, I barely felt like a race, but there was so much action in it. So once we get this next server up, we'll nearly be at the end of the night after the next race. So it's absolutely flown by, Bernie.
Yeah, and there's we just had some news through that Jared Filsell has a 10-second penalty applied, so that's going to affect potentially. Let's have a look at what sort of gap he had at the end here, and we'll see if he actually got through or whether Cam Taylor's going to move up here.
Yeah, it looks like on the results here, on my JRT results, it's put him back down to third place, but no further down. The gaps were fairly extensive throughout the field. So he's probably just maybe jumped the start, cut a corner or something like that, and that 10-second penalty's been applied. But we saw the sort of pace that he had and the way he absolutely cut through the field there with Lachlan Smith and made that move. So starting out of, it'll be off the third row, we may see some good moves from him as the race goes on in the final tonight, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. And we said at the start, didn't we, Jared had a blinding start and it looked like everyone else was caught napping, and I reckon that's what that 10-second penalty was for. No doubt for jumping that start. And but fortunately for him, as you were saying, he's got a huge lead that it didn't really affect his chances of going through tonight.
Yeah, well, I think all the carnage probably helped him with that. With a few people getting taken out and a few crashes happening, it really spread out the field. Sorry, just reading what the viewers are saying in the chat at the moment about that penalty.
Yeah, it was an iracing penalty from what Sam was telling us there.
Yeah, so it will have probably been a jump start then, I'd say, Bernie.
Yeah, and for anyone that I think Emily Jones isn't live yet, but from what I understand, she will be streaming when her heat comes on. So I'm just posting the link in our chat channel for anyone who wants to go and have a look. So it should be twitch.tv/EMEEREE. And you can always put that up and watch her in action as well as watch our broadcast as well.
Yeah, well, she always puts on a really good stream and has plenty of fans out there on the internet as well that love watching her streams and her racing. So she streams all of her Scops races as well as these Rallycross ones as well. So if you have two tabs open, have RRTV in one, and then split screen to Emily's stream, and you can watch them side by side when her heat's on and when the final comes around if she makes it through as well.
Yeah, I'd expect, unless something goes a bit astray, I'd expect her to get through. Based on her qualifying, she was like second fastest in the room, and that's why she's qualified so well for the final heat.
Yeah, well, she was right up behind Jared Filsell, so she's definitely got a wealth of pace behind her, and she'll be putting that to the test in the next heat. And like you said, provided nothing goes wrong, we'll be most likely seeing her in the final as well, I'd say.
Yeah, we'll hope if things go right, that is. And what's going on? Okay. All right, so I made a mistake. So it's EMREE, EMREE is where you want to go, folks. So how's that server looking? Have we got one up yet?
I just refreshed it a moment ago. There was nothing. We'll do another refresh, and still nothing at the moment. The tournament mode on iRacing certainly takes its sweet time to decide what results it likes and doesn't like, and to spit out a server for the drivers to jump into. Yeah, and of course the guys are manually setting up all of the
the grid, because it's all based on qualifying times from the 4 rooms. So the race control definitely have their hands full when it comes to setting these events up.
Yeah, you can say that again, but they're after round one's sort of bungle with the UI. This way is the surefire way of making sure they actually get servers up and we get some racing going. Because unfortunately, it got a little bit hairy in round one when the beta UI decided it didn't want to spit out any servers. So they're doing it the only way that will work, but it means that we get some racing to commentate on and some racing to talk about, Bernie.
Yeah, exactly right, and we'll should be grateful for that as well. And of course, I'm still waking up from my Christmas holidays. I got another week off work, and I sort of woke up this morning still in holiday mode, but spent the whole day mixing videos, and tonight trying to get back in the swing of things on RRTV.
Yeah, oh, lucky you, Bernie. I was at work 9 hours today, so I've come home and come home to the job I actually like doing, commentating for RRTV. So it's always good fun when we're up in the comms booth, and tonight's no different. I'm looking forward to these next couple of heats, and I think we're going to see just as much excitement as we have in that first heat.
Yeah, definitely. Well, according to the chat in the Discord server, Ryan Gorton was saying 3 of the drivers jumped the start in that, and he was saying they still managed to get through. So, yeah, and Lachlan Smith's response was that the jumps are so brutal on the suspension as well. So, there are a couple of things to keep an eye on. Of course, we saw in round one of the cars actually break their suspension when they landed a bit sideways, didn't we? And it looked like they broke their steering.
Yeah, well, I've done it in these cars, and the problem is when you hit those jumps, if you're still accelerating, it pitches the car forward. And then when that happens, obviously all the force of the car flying through the air lands on the front of the car, and that damages the car. Now, I'm not sure how true to life or anything that is, or how tough the Rallycross cars are, but I imagine they're built pretty tough, because some of the hits that the cars take in real life and in this game make me wonder, would they really get bent steering from a little tap like they do in the game?
Yeah, you'd think they build them pretty much bulletproof to a certain degree, especially these cars. I know the rally cars, suspension's extremely strong in them, but, I'm not an expert on these new four-wheel drive type rally cars. But let's have a look at, while we're waiting, folks, the lineup for Heat 2 tonight. Just trying to find it here once again.
Yeah, so we've got a fairly good lineup, I think, for Heat 2. It's gonna make a good race as well, and hopefully we have a little less carnage and see all 10 drivers really fighting it out till the end of the race, and meaning that it really gets interesting towards those last few laps when people are jostling for those last couple of positions to make it into the final, Bernie.
Yeah, so the lineup's going to be Emily Jones. It looks like she's going to start from pole position. Michael Healy will join her in the front row with Bob King. Second row tonight will be Josh Anderson, Dylan Shepherd and Wayne Burke. And then the third row we have Sam Blacklock, Daniel Ackland. Now, they all went through basically based on their time trials. The two that made it through based on their results in the last chance qualifying is Cohen Attard and Richard Brookfield. They're going to make up the field, and looks like Richard will be starting by his lonesome in row 4.
Oh, well, he can watch the carnage unfold in front of him and get through the pack and go for that win. That's always my strategy. Start at the back, watch the carnage, and then go through and get the win at the end. It doesn't work very often, but it's fun to think about.
Yeah, well, if he's on their tail, he can always play his joker straight up and see where it slingshots him.
Yeah, well, that's we saw that in that last race where the top 3 all just went bang straight into the joker lap, and it worked out pretty well for them, except I think that top 3 all had jump starts, so I guess they were all trying to get ahead of the field and try and make that gap up, but it didn't work too well for them when all 3 of them went down in there, and the gap wasn't reduced by anything at all. If anything, it it wasn't extended, sorry. If anything, it reduced more with all three of them going through there together.
Yeah, well, that's it. And I'm still looking for our server. It still isn't up, folks, so we're just biding our time at the moment and waiting for it to come up.
Yeah, hitting that refresh button like you wouldn't believe, Bernie, but still no luck at the moment, but we'll see. We'll see what pops up. And just as we're talking about it, the server has now just come up, Bernie.
Yeah, there it is. So, folks, we're going to go to a quick break and we'll be back with you very shortly for the second semi-final. Welcome back, folks, to RRTV's live coverage of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series. As you can see, the drivers are out there at the moment doing their 5-minute practice, and then we're going to be racing very, very shortly. And then, of course, it's going to be action-packed, isn't it, Brock?
Yeah, well, we've got 10 laps with 2 joker laps, just like the first heat of tonight's semi-finals. And then we're straight on to the final, which is a 12-lap race with 2 jokers again. So the top 5 from this race, just like Heat 1, will make it through to that final. And then, yeah, we're in for our final race of the night. And it's, I reckon we're in for some action here. We've got some very fast people in this server. And I think every single one of them is, they're not only going to be wanting a top 5, they're going to be wanting the top spot, Bernie.
They definitely will, and we can have a look at the times they're posting in practice at the moment. The fastest is Bob King. Keep an eye on him tonight. Wayne Burke, second fastest with a 38.155. Daniel Ackland, third. Fourth fastest was Cohen Attard. Fifth, Michael Healy. Richard Brookfield, sixth. And we better get through the grid, didn't we? I was getting too excited.
Yeah, they're all just starting to grid up, sort of.
Okay, let's have a look at the grid. So the front row will be Wayne Burke, Bob King, Emily Jones. Second row tonight will be Cohen Attard, Daniel Ackland and Richard Brookfield. Starting out of the third row, we've got Dylan Shepherd, Michael Healy and Sam Blacklock. Yeah,
and then, I think they're all good to go now, and just waiting on the green light. Starters orders, the revs are rising, Bernie. Just waiting for it. They're holding them. Cars are wanting to lurch forward, and they're off now. Hopefully we don't see too much carnage as they come down into turn one. It looks like a nice clean start for most of them, and they've all not managed to slide in there without too much carnage. Two of them have gone off together, continuing the oval, which is a bit of a weird thing to see in Rallycross, Bernie.
It certainly is, but having a look at, we can see some drivers already taking their Joker lap here, but at the moment, looking at we've had someone crash in the Joker, did we?
Yeah, Bob King has had a fairly spectacular crash in there. He's managed to spin his car up in the air, so that looks like his race is now over, Bernie, which is unfortunate to see.
And we'll have a look at this replay as he was using the Joker. Oh yeah, big time over, and the car behind him was lucky he did not get caught up in that, because running with the Joker, you do not want to waste that Joker, that's for sure. But having a look at the results at the moment, we've got Sam Blacklock leading as he landed very awkwardly, and let's go through. Cohen Attard's leading. Sam Blacklock is second. Cohen's just used his Joker. That's why he's jumped up there. Third, Michael Healy. We've got Emily Jones fourth. Richard Brookfield, he's on the bubble, sitting in fifth position.
Yeah, that was very well done by Cohen Attard using that Joker. He made up 3 positions with 1 Joker lap. So we'll see how the guys and girls behind him react and see where they end up using their Joker laps. So, and he's actually using his second one. So he's trying to gap those guys and hopefully try and get out of range of the Joker lap. But I think it's Michael Healy has followed him through there, as well as Emily Jones as well came through on that Joker lap as well. So now Cohen is out of Joker laps, but I think Healy and Jones may both still have one under their belt there, Bernie.
Yeah, I think they do, but at the moment nothing is separating these 3. So Cohen Attard out of Jokers, leading by a slim margin over Michael Healy in second, and then now Michael's using his second Joker. What's Emily doing? She's going to continue through, but that should allow Healy now to, well, he's coming out very slowly, but he has taken the lead.
Yeah, he has gotten back up in front there, and I let out a bit of a gasp there before, Bernie, because Emily Jones nearly put it in the tyres just off the jump. She had a very awkward moment and ended up coming off that jump sideways, but she continues on. I'll be interested to see when she uses a second Joker lap and if she'll be able to jump Healy as well. He's got quite the gap now on those two. It's extended out to about 3 seconds on Cohen Attard and 4 seconds on Emily Jones.
Okay, here she goes now. She's using the Joker. We'll see. Normally she should get about 3 seconds up by using that. So we'll see where she comes out, and hold your breath here, folks. So Michael Healy is still leading by the slimmest of margins as Emily comes out in second, and then we've got Cohen Attard in third. Dylan Shepherd, as we can see, he's in the pits. His night is done, and Daniel Ackland's night's pretty much done too. He's 2 laps down. Bob King, well, we saw him go out in the first Joker, didn't we?
Yeah, unfortunately, he just probably misjudged the speed there, was trying to get ahead of the pack and, put it in the wall. Very easy to do, considering the way that Joker works. You come flying in, but then you've got to slow right down to actually take this big hairpin that the drivers are going through now. So it's unfortunate to see. We saw he had a lot of pace in round 1, but I'm sure he'll be back and ready to attack the circuits again and try to take another win.
Yeah, and one of the movers at the moment is Sam Blacklock. He started right up the back, and he was one of the last chance qualifiers. He's sitting in fourth, and Richard Brookfield sitting in fifth. He was the last of the last chance qualifiers, and I think Cohen Attard was as well. Yeah,
so both those guys came from the LCQ, so it's good to see them up in that top 5. It means that they haven't put all this effort in tonight for nothing to go through their qualifying, their LCQ, and now their heat. They may still well make it through to the final and make it all worthwhile, Bernie.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, 3 laps to go. Jones has put the blowtorch on the back of Healy at the moment, and I tell you what, I'm getting chills up my spine because I think this is going to go right down to the wire.
Yeah, she is. She's nearly pushing him through the corners, NASCAR-style bump drafting. So this will be really interesting to see as we're coming around to 2 laps to go after this corner here, and they're tit for tat at the moment. They're really going at it, Bernie.
They certainly are. Attard now is 4 seconds down. He won't factor back into this the way things are going. So it's going to come down to these two folks, and the gap 0.4 of a second last time through.
Yeah, Healy seems to have just extended that a little bit. He made up a few tenths, and he was a little bit sideways coming off the jump there as well. So Emily Jones is still not out of this, and she's driving beautifully, keeping the car straight while Healy's running a bit wide. She's keeping him honest, and they're side by side. I thought they were about to touch there, but they didn't. She's come back in behind him, but there is nothing between them, Bernie.
Oh, exactly right, and we saw Jones there. She closed right up, very tight line through there, and she almost made that move.
Yeah, she's right up behind him. I reckon we're going to see a last-ditch move here if she can make it stick. She, at the moment, though, this isn't for the final. She is still going to make it into the final if she stays second. So right now, this is all about pride and bragging rights, basically. Who can make it across the line first there, Bernie?
Yeah, well, at the moment, Healy's got the lead here as they come off the final corners here, and it looks like it's going to go to Healy. Emily Jones finishing right behind him. The gap there, folks, 0.4 of a second. Now that is what Rallycross is about.
Yeah, that was some intense racing. Once those Joker laps all sort of played out, those two were absolutely duking it out for 4 or 5 laps there. That was some awesome racing. And good to see it was clean as well, even if, Jones looked like she probably could have given him a couple of bumps and escorted him wide, which is not frowned upon in Rallycross. It's actually encouraged. So that was both really well driven by those drivers, and a show of what's to come in the final, hopefully, Bernie.
Oh, definitely. And Sam Blacklock, he also closed up to 0.4 of a second on Cohen Attard. So he's another one we'll keep an eye on. The last qualifier to get through was Richard Brookfield. So if we look at our final results here tonight, folks, these are your drivers going through to the final. Michael Healy, Emily Jones, Cohen Attard, Sam Blacklock and Richard Brookfield. Unfortunately, we need to say goodnight to Wayne Burke, Daniel Ackland, Dylan Shepherd and Bob King. And, of course, we saw Bob get it all wrong, didn't we, in that Joker lap, heavily into the wall. And that pretty much ended his race on about lap 2, I think it was.
Yeah, you're right there, Bernie. It was, I think, lap 1 or 2 there. And unfortunately, a slight miscalculation is all it took. And it happens to absolutely every driver. And luckily enough, we have iRacing physics to make it look spectacular as well.
Oh, exactly right. And Dylan Shepherd, he retired, folks, on about lap 4. So a lap later, his race was done. So, actually, Bob retired lap 1, sorry. So the rest finished, but it doesn't mean anything if you're not in that top 5, does it?
Well, that's it. It's a night of racing that you're just going to have to look back upon and learn from, basically, because, like you said, we had to say goodnight to... it was just about another 10 drivers out of those heats. So hopefully we'll see those 10 drivers come back and, like I said before, with that renewed passion and come back and try fight for that win in their, not only in their heats but in the final as well, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely, and we'll just wait for the results to come up and we'll take you through who those 10 drivers will be. As we were saying, we already know from Heat 2 is Healy, Jones, Attard, Blacklock and Brookfield, and we'll wait and see the first 5 because I cannot remember, believe it or not.
I can't either, Bernie. My brain is still focused on the battle that Healy and Jones were having at the end there. It doesn't get much closer than that in any sort of racing.
Oh, exactly right. It was just full on, wasn't it? I was getting chills. But that's what excites me in this format of racing is when you get racing that close. It's absolutely awesome. And a pity we didn't get much on Attard and Blacklock because Blacklock was closing. The reason he closed, folks, was it looks like he used the Joker on his last lap and it almost brought him up to 3rd position.
Yeah, almost. it's that Joker lap. It's the strategy we were talking about, and Cohen tried to use it early, and unfortunately for him, he still made it through. But that the speed of Jones and Healy was just phenomenal. So their speed sort of trumped those Joker laps, and once they took theirs, they were just out to a margin that couldn't be caught back up. In the end, it was about 6 seconds back to Cohen from Michael Healy.
Yeah, so we'll definitely see now. It's going to be interesting because we saw in this one Healy and Jones out there, but it's going to be interesting to see what sort of speed they bring to the final with the other 5 that'll be joining them, because, of course, it's the first time these 10 will have raced tonight head-to-head. They did qualify, so they do have an idea on the pace, but things change very quickly when you get to a race situation.
Oh, you can say that again, and being able to stay consistent in a race is so different, and being able to race fairly without taking each other out is so different to being able to put in that one-lap pace. And you see it in every form of motorsport. Some drivers can be one-lap wonders and absolutely pump out an awesome lap, but they can't keep up that pace in the race. And although Rallycross is short races, there are so many different variables with the tarmac, the dirt's tarmac transitions, the jump, the Joker lap. You've got to manage all of those, and it takes a really good driver to manage all of those and still come out on top and come out with that trophy in their hand.
Yeah, it certainly does, and the pressure will be mounting very soon. I'm just seeing if we had any interviews, but everyone's shy tonight.
Yeah, they must all be getting prepped, I reckon. A few of the guys up in the general chat, I think some of them are in the final, so maybe they're just listening to their pump-up music and trying to ready themselves for what's to come.
Yeah, definitely. And we should also give a big shout out to all our viewers wherever you're watching us tonight, because, of course, we are simulcasting tonight on YouTube in high definition. We're also out there now on Facebook. Twitch TV is in high definition, and we're going to Periscope and Mixer as well. So wherever you are out there, folks, I hope you're enjoying our broadcast. And it's a challenging format, not only for race admin, but also for the commentary team. But hopefully we're doing a good enough job for you all.
Yeah, like Bernie said, thank you to all the viewers, not only for coming along and watching this broadcast, but for watching all the broadcasts on RRTV. Bernie puts in a lot of effort. You were telling me how much time he spent on these overlays and videos today, and it's an immense amount of time he puts in. So thanks to him as well, and also to the guys running the event for putting it on and giving us the opportunity to stream it to all you guys out there, guys and girls. Yeah, and exactly. As I was saying that, it looks like the server's come up, Bernie.
Fantastic. So we're going to go to yet another quick break, folks, and then we're going to be back to call the final. Hi there folks, welcome back to RRTV's Rallycross Super Series, and we will be broadcasting the final race very, very shortly. They're out there practicing, but if we have a look at the times, Jared Filsell is provisionally the fastest in practice, 37.452. Emily Jones is second fastest, Richard Brookfield third, Terry Marwood fourth, Healy fifth, Simon Joel Smith sixth, seventh is Blacklock, Ryan Gordon and Lachlan Smith rounds out our top 9 here tonight.
Yeah, so a fairly strong field here, and we've got a few of those last chance qualifiers as well. They made it into this race, so that's good to see that there's a good mix of those who qualified well and then those who have proven themselves in the race. So it'll be interesting to see exactly how this all pans out as they all start to grid now, Bernie.
Yeah, so our grid is on the front row, Emily Jones, Terry Marwood, Jared Filsell. Second row tonight, Sam Blacklock, Richard Brookfield, Michael Healy. In the third row, we have Simon Joel Smith, Ryan Gordon, Lachlan Smith, and Cohen Attard will bring up the 10th position. Now, folks, remember, 12 laps, 2 jokers here tonight, and they gain around about 2.5 to 3 seconds when they play that joker.
Yeah, so this will be an interesting strategy here. So there's up to about, depending on how well they take the joker, there's up to about 6 seconds worth of time to gain during this race, but that's also needs to be used wisely. As we saw, Attard used his, but the speed of Healy and Jones trumped that. So they need to be able to time it well and make sure that they use them wisely to absolutely maximise the time that they're gaining from that.
Yeah, it looks like Cohen Attard won't be taking to the track, so we've got 9, but the revs will be rising here, waiting for starters' orders for the final round 2, and we're underway. So a nice clean start, but they come into this corner 3 wide. Oh, there's almost contact. Oh, we've lost one.
Oh, there is contact. Oh, no. That was Emily Jones, just got an absolutely colossal whack from... I can't see who that is, unfortunately. Smith, Lachlan Smith, I think it was. There was a bit of carnage coming in there. Jones got a bit thrown around a bit there. She got bumped into once and then hit again, but she's still going at the moment, and hopefully she doesn't have too much damage. I think that was Jones that copped the hit there. Yeah, it was, unfortunately.
Yeah, and Ryan Gordon also got turned around. His race is done already. We saw that in the second corner. We've also got a car on the infield there. I think that might be Jones. It is Jones, and it looks like her race is done.
Yeah, and Terry Marwood as well was hit, and then basically his car flew through the air. So it looks like his race will be done as well. Emily Jones is her car's smoking. That's race over for her, unfortunately. A lot of promise from her, but just didn't work the way she wanted. And like we were saying earlier, that's the nature of Rallycross, but unfortunate to see because she had the potential to be taking it to guys like Filsell and Healy that have been fighting at the front all night.
Yeah, and she got into the side of Marwood there, but did you see Marwood, the amount of air he got? Absolutely massive.
It was pretty impressive. I've got to give him points for style there.
Yeah, so looking at your top drivers, we're down to 7 runners now. So Jared Filsell, he's leading by 2.4 seconds over Lachlan Smith in second. Third is Simon Joel Smith. Well, he's just been passed by Richard Brookfield, who used his joker. And we saw Richard come to grief on the jump in the second lap there, but he's recovered. Simon Joel Smith is 4th. 5th is Cohen Attard, and he didn't take to the start, but he's out there now. And 6th is Michael Healy. He's in the pits, retired. Sam Blacklock's retired. Emily Jones also retired. So has Ryan Gordon and Terry Marwood. So we're down to 5 out of the 10 starters here tonight.
Yeah, it's that's a bit unfortunate to be honest with you there, Bernie, but Cohen Attard, he's probably jumping with joy at the moment. He's just gone from being last to 5th thanks to those few retirees, so he's probably hoping a couple more guys up ahead will crash out and then he'll be up on the podium.
Yeah, well, he might have been the smart one, you know. He's starting in 10th. It looks like he chose to start from the pits, and I think it worked for him because there was quite a lot of carnage there in the first lap, that's for sure.
Yeah, you can say that again, and that's sort of that's Rallycross in a nutshell, carnage. And unfortunately, iRacing's physics sort of like to make cars fly, like they've got no downforce on a NASCAR track. So when cars fly through the air, it basically means the race is over for those people. So like I've been saying all night, I'm going to say it again. Hopefully we see them back next week, because having drivers like Emily Jones in the series is absolutely awesome, and they bring another calibre of driving in Rallycross to the series. And that battle between Michael Healy and Emily Jones we saw in the last heat was absolutely awesome, and that's the sort of stuff we want to see night in, night out in this series.
Yeah, definitely. And Emily's joined the track again. She's running down in 6th position, and Sam Blacklock hasn't. So we've got 6 runners. But yeah, it's a bit of an anticlimax. It was all promising to be a big final, wasn't it, with Healy and Jones and Phil Sell? But it's sort of all been for naught tonight. But not for Phil Sell. He's got a lead of 7 seconds over Smith, and he's in a class of his own. It's 37.412 seconds was his last lap, compared to 38.8612 Lachlan. Everyone else is in the 38s, 39s or 40s.
Yeah, Phil Sell's just absolutely flying. It's like he's attached a small rocket to the back of his car, and he just turns it on all the straights and over the jump and everything. He's in a class of his own out there, and yeah, like you said, everyone else is in the 38s, but he's in that low 37s. So provided nothing goes wrong, I think we're going to see Phil Sell win this race. And just looking at through the rest of the field here, it looks like everybody else is fairly spread out, Bernie.
They certainly are. What we're going to do, folks, we're going to jump on board with Phil Sell, and we're going to do a lap with him. And hang on to your hats, because it's going to be a quick lap, because he's lapping the 37s. But it'll give you an idea just how busy these drivers are on a lap in Rallycross.
Yeah, these guys, they know how to handle their cars, and handling a Rallycross car around tracks like this is even more increasingly hard.
Yeah, it certainly is. There's 2 parts they have to look at, isn't it? It's the tarmac. Oh, and Phil Sell nearly hit the tyres there, but he managed to get around them. But it's not only tarmac, but of course it's the dirt, which makes it just that more challenging.
Yeah, and that's it. And the hardest part of this is, I guess, adapting to the conditions that you have. You go from having all this grip to all of a sudden nothing, but then you go back to having the grip again, and you don't want to get too comfortable on either surface, because before you know it, you're going to be transferring back to the next one anyway. So it's a real challenge to drive Rallycross, drive it well, and drive it consistently. And well, yeah, right now Phil Sell looks like he's mastered that, because he's out to now at the line about an 11-second lead now, Bernie, which is just immense in such a small race.
Oh, it's huge, isn't it? Smith's 10 seconds down. Then we've got Brookfield. He is 25 seconds down, 16 behind Smith. Simon Joel Smith, 4th, 34 seconds down. And then we've got Cohen Attard. He's 1 lap. And Emily Jones is 2 laps down. Both of those drivers having some trouble out there tonight. But I tell you what, there's nothing more beautiful, and this is me being the romantic ex-rally driver, nothing more beautiful than having a rally car hooked up and having it dance across the gravel, and just getting those beautiful slides happening.
Yeah, well, oh no, Phil Sell, he's just avoided the tyre barrier there. He was trying to get past a lapped car and nearly ruined his whole race there, Bernie. Sorry to get off that sidetrack, but he nearly lost that first place and gave it to Lachlan Smith in a heartbeat.
Yeah, we're going to jump back and have a look at that. We were riding with him at the time, but let's jump back and have a look at how it went from the outside view. And I tell you what, he was lucky he didn't collect the tyre barriers, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, he did well. He knew what he was doing, and he just avoided it very nicely. So I think that's all over Red Rover, Bernie. He's just finished the race and come across the line in first.
Certainly has. I'm just going to have a look at this replay here because he had a good entry onto the jump, but he just went wide, and he's actually gone off the side of the jump, would you believe? And tell you what, he was lucky to get away with that. He's landed on the berm on the side, upset the car immensely, as an understatement, but he's managed to gather it up and just find a gap and get through between the tyres and that cement wall.
Yeah, honestly, Bernie, if that had been me, I probably would have just put it in the tyre barrier and enjoyed the ride. So he did really well there, and for it being the last lap, working your way around, it's hard enough to work your way around one of these tracks without having to work your way around back markers. So he did well to gather that all up again and come home to take the win.
Yeah, he certainly did. And let's have a look at the final race results. As we see, Mr. Philsell celebrating his win in round 2 of the RRTV Rallycross Super Series. And let's have a look. So Jared Philsell won very convincingly. He was the only car in the 37s. His fastest lap, 37.007, and he led all 12 laps here. So the win goes to Philsell. Second on the podium, Lachlan Smith and Richard Brookfield. They round out our top 3. So congratulations to all of those drivers. Then we've got Simon Joel Smith classified in 4th, Cohen Attard, 5th, 6th, Emily Jones, and our retirements tonight were Sam Blacklock, Michael Healy, Ryan Gordon, and Terry Marwood.
Yeah, so unfortunate to see that only 4 people ended up on the lead lap, and that it ended up with 4 retirements. But in the end, Philsell basically gave us a masterclass in Rallycross and showed us how it's done. And I bet you he would have been pushing for that to get down into the 36s, only 7 thousandths off getting in there. So he was by the hair of his chinny chin chin off getting into those 36s there.
Yeah, he was so close, wasn't he? But I tell you what, that last lap, that could have all ended in tears. But I tell you what, I don't know how he gathered that car up, but he did. And yeah, it goes to show what a good driver Philsell is. Normally when he comes out and plays, he normally comes out to win, and he's got the talent to do it as well.
He does, and I think when Emily Jones got taken out, that was probably the opening he needed to just absolutely tear off into the distance. And it was just some of that first lap biff and barge that took a few people out, including Emily Jones. And she had a lot of speed under her, and she was only a couple of tenths off in the practice set before the race. So it would have been interesting to see. But in saying that, hopefully they both come back next week for round 3, and we'll get to see them go head-to-head again, or go head-to-head and see who comes out on top then.
Yeah, and the other one that came to grief in that incident was Terry Marwood. He had a massive accident, didn't he? And that ended his night.
Yeah, that was unfortunate to see him flying through the air like that, but maybe that'll be the theme of Rallycross, that we get people flying through the air, because I remember Michael Healy, I think, was our resident flyer at Daytona when he got pushed around into a tyre barrier and did a couple of pirouettes in the air. So it's just all part of the territory with the Rallycross, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is. And speaking of territory, it looks like no one's coming up for an interview tonight, folks. So it's going to be an early one here on RRTV. Well, 10 o'clock. As far as what's coming up on our channel in the coming weeks, well, of course, next week we'll be back for the Rallycross. Things will slowly start waking up here on RRTV again. The AOSC will be back on our channel, and they're doing a practice this Friday night. We may broadcast that, we may not, but the reason they're doing a couple of practice rounds is they're bringing in new rules around drivers and minimum laps and safety cars, and it's going to mix things up quite a lot.
Yeah, it's always good to see some new things being implemented in a series, and to freshen things up as well. We always like to see we don't want to see a series getting stale. So the fact that the organisers are willing to put in the effort to spruce things up and spice things up a bit and try and make it interesting not only for the viewers but for the drivers as well is always awesome.
Yeah, and what they were basically looking at, folks, is in the previous season we ran, they had basically the minimum laps a second driver had to do, and basically what was happening was a few people, and you know, it's the way you do it, it's strategy. They would put their slower driver in, double quotes, because they're not slow, they're all as fast as each other. They'd do their minimum laps, jump out, and the other driver would go to the end of the race. Now, what they are going to look at implementing is a maximum amount of time a driver can spend in the car, which is basically reflecting what real-life V8 supercars does, and that should make it very, very interesting when we come to the 650 Enduros.
Yeah, the 650 Enduros always throw a bit of strategy in the air, obviously, and with this new rule about maximum driving time as well as minimum, it'll be really interesting to see how they work the strategy, because you can't just put in your, I guess, the slower of the two drivers for the minimum time and get the faster of the two drivers to do the rest of the race. You've really got to work around strategy and how the fuel and the tyres work best with your driver changes to minimise that time lost.
Exactly right, and all of these challenges normally make for great viewing, so it's all good for our viewers out there. But I guess, Brock, it's going to be the end of our coverage tonight, and once again I need to thank you for joining me in the comm booth and calling all the action. I know you're getting a bit bored on your Christmas holidays, so you're probably happy to be back and working again.
Oh, that's for sure. This spices up my nights, Bernie. I need something to keep me going, otherwise I'm going to drive myself insane.
Oh, I do that anyway. I drive myself insane, not you. But yeah, so folks, thanks for joining us wherever you joined us tonight. I hope you've enjoyed our coverage. It was definitely enjoyable to bring it to you, and hopefully we'll have your company back again next Tuesday night when we come back for the Rallycross, and that'll be round 3 of the Super Series. Now, of course, this is only a 6-rounder, but it just gets us through that summer break, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was a great little series. Nothing too serious in it, but like it says, it's the RRTV Summer Series, so it just gives drivers a chance to basically practice their skills and make sure they're still up and with it, and also claim some bragging rights coming into 2018, and when everything starts to get a bit more serious with your SCOPs and your AOSC all starting back up again, and things kicking into gear a bit more.
Yeah, exactly right. But anyway, folks, thanks for joining us. On behalf of Brock, I'm Bernie, and we hope you have a fantastic night. If you're still on holidays, enjoy it. If you're back at work, well, enjoy that too. But we'll catch you again next Tuesday night. Good night.